Hello, the great Michael Kent.
Hi.
How you doing, man?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you okay. It looks like you're a man of action. You're in your car working,
I'm
working,
in my
working.
car.
Well,
Yep.
I got to tell you, I'm so fortunate to work with Michael. Michael is one of the top agents in the U.S. for getting expires, cancel withdrawals, and if we have time, customer service. And why I asked Michael to join us today, guys, is that we have a lot of agents who are pretty good at expireds and awful at customer service because they're just hunting and they don't care about keeping. And we have people who are great at customer service, but they don't know how to get the listing. So, Michael, so everybody can send you the referrals you deserve, tell everybody where you work so they can send you thousands of buyers and sellers.
Yeah, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I cover, probably 8 or 9 different cities, right? So anything around Phoenix, Scottsdale area,
And so, how long you been in real estate?
20 years.
Wow, 20 years. Real estate's a little different than it was 20 years ago, isn't it, Michael?
Oh yeah. I mean, kind of.
Well, what are some of the changes that you've seen, and what is still the same? What are a couple things you see differently, and what are some of the things that are consistent that makes you successful?
I mean, a lot of it's different from how I've evolved in 20 years, so some of it may be timing, but probably different. It's just obviously like technology. Same, basically is the same objections, same ways to get business, which from my perspective, I'm sure a lot of you would agree with me. I've always told people the hardest part about real estate is finding buyers and sellers. All the
Yep.
other stuff's easy.
Did you guys hear that? The hardest part about real estate is finding buyers and sellers. The rest of it is easy. So, Michael, one of the things that you are great at is identifying some of the best expired cancel withdrawals for the day and then making appointments with them. Without giving our secret sauce, let's start with what's the mindset when you wake up about the expired cancel withdrawals?
I think one thing that's amazing with canceled and expired, or I just canceled and expired what I work is you could wake up with nothing, you talk to somebody that day, meet with them an hour later, be at their home for 20, 30 minutes, and 30 days later you're making 15, $20,000. Like you can find someone literally that day, and if you price their home right, you're getting paid 30 days down the road. It's just amazing how fast it can happen.
Did you guys hear what he just said? This is something that everybody needs to pay attention to. You can wake up with nothing on the plate from the night before, and all of a sudden, the expires and cancels are handing you a listing that you could take that day. And Michael, you said something. You said, if you price it right. One of the things that you and I share all the time is one of the easiest properties to price right is an expired because they were already on the market here. And what do we know about the price, Michael?
Usually too high,
So we already know what price doesn't work.
right?
How, in your experience, when you meet with a seller, do you get them to understand that this was the price they were at and nobody bought it and they need to be here? How do you do that?
A lot of that's just asking questions. A lot of part of it is tell me when you were on the market, were you having people to come look at it? And if they say yes, I get excited. Oh, that's really good news. If you were way off, they wouldn't even come look.
Right.
And so I say, I'm curious. These people came through the house, they didn't even make an offer, and if not, why? And so I think just asking questions, a lot of times they figure it out.
So let me just tweak a little bit. One of the questions I'd like you to ask Michael on a coaching point is what did your agent not do to get these people to make an offer? Why did your last agent tell you he couldn't get you a contract? See, an enemy of my enemy is now my friend. I need to make sure they blame their old agent for their problems. Nice. So, Michael, your goal this year is to do how many deals?
125. I have two buyers agents, so the 125, 80 are mine.
80 are yours. Of the 80,
Yeah.
how many will be from expired cancel?
About 45%.
Do you guys hear that? It'll be 37 to 38. That's one a week. So, Michael, is it frustrating some days when you wake up and you got a handful of 10, 15 great expires and you don't get something out of that day?
Yeah.
What do you do on those days?
I'll call, I usually call back about a week, or sometimes you can go even over. And then also, I still call my database,
Yep.
past clients, centers of influence. Yeah.
You guys, I want you to really understand what he's saying here. He's saying that he's going to do 3738 expires, and your average commission is how much, Michael?
13,000.
So anybody do the math, we're near as makes no difference. We're about 450 a year. But on a given week, he takes one from 7 days of expireds. Now he's trying to take one a day. Fair statement, Michael?
Oh, yeah.
But we understand that mathematically, with all his efforts, he puts all this in. Even if he only gets one a week, it's near as makes no difference, a half a million a year. So, Michael, what turns you on besides when you wake up? Why do you want to go after so many expires and cancel? What is that attractive to you besides it's a deal?
For me, either it's experience or maybe just their situation, it's a much easier call.
And why do you say it's an easier call?
They've already worked with an agent. Um, maybe just because I know the script better. I think a lot of them, like you said earlier, what'd you say? A friend of an enemy is a friend of mine, something like that.
Uh, an enemy of my enemy is now my friend.
So a lot of times those calls are just letting them vent.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. This is new. Tell us more about that.
Just they just want, like, they're frustrated with the experience. It's not always their agent. It's just that their house didn't sell.
Right.
And if you can just empathize with them and feel that pain with them, it's almost not even what you say. It's just how you've kind of made them feel on the phone.
Did you guys hear that? Michael's one of his key is that he gets an alignment because he asks questions, he lets them vent. And let me share this with you. This is one of the things I appreciate about Mr. Kent. He is a great listener. He's one of few of my coaching clients who, after I finish something, writes it down and says, "Can I ask you a question?" Because that means he was listening. That's one of his strengths, guys. That's one of the appeals of Mr. Kent when he's on appointment, because I imagine how he works with me on our call is how he acts in front of them. Him being a listener and allowing them to vent is one of his strongest things. Because most of us, we're not listeners, Mike, are we? We're waiting to speak, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
When a client gives you an objection, do you let them finish the whole objection or jump in right away to tell them how you're going to solve it?
I hope to let them share all. Yeah.
How hard is it to listen to them when you know the answer and you just want to solve it to go forward? How do you stay without being a waiting to speak?
I think you just have to be prepared that that's what's going to happen. And it's almost like it's hard to listen to, like, their words don't always mean what they're saying, but if you can read into it, like, this person's opening up to me, because a lot of those calls are quick because they're getting so many calls from agents. If I get someone just going ahead and, in a lack of a better term, some kind of bitch session where they're just letting it all out, that's good. That's progress.
Hmm.
And just, yeah.
So your mindset, you found an expired, you're on the phone with them. What's your mindset to make an appointment? What are you thinking while they're talking? What are you doing to make this appointment?
I'm trying to do a lot of, like, repeating and affirming. I think that shows to them that I'm listening. And then
Right?
also I'm going to try to ask for an appointment.
When do you want to meet with that expired? If you called me and it's say 8:30 on a Tuesday morning, ideally, when would you want to go out?
8:35.
Do you guys hear that? Some of you who are somewhat analytical don't want to go out till 2 in the afternoon because you got a whole bunch of work to do. Well, so Michael, why do you want to go out in 5 minutes?
Before they get a bunch of calls.
Yeah. Guys, do you hear this? I need you to really understand this. Michael and I talk about this. Well, Michael, yeah, I absolutely want to sell my house. We got to do it as fast as possible. Hold on, please. Hi, who are you? I'm Michael Kent. We're on the phone. Can I come in? because if you make an appointment with expired, the next agent that calls has an easier time making an appointment. So we got to get out there right away. The seller's meeting with you, and they have an appointment with, we'll put Aaron Manza 1 hour after you. Could you share with us what you do to get the signatures so they don't meet with Aaron?
I mean, just gonna close.
What kind of closes do you use? The 9mm hire me or you die, or what do you say?
I'm just, can we get the process started? Let's sign here.
It's relatively simple, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, just ask for a signature.
And Michael, because you're a listener, are they more likely to give you a signature?
Yeah.
See, guys, so many of us overtalk our clients. Well, we have Aaron coming an hour. Let me tell you why you don't want to meet with Aaron. I'm going to tell you how great I am. You never let him finish. And when people don't feel they're heard, do they trust us, guys? If they don't trust us, they're not going to hire us. So, Michael, what day of the week do you get more listings than others? Is there a certain day that's better for you?
I don't think so.
Well, we talk about the 31st and the 1st. What's so
Oh,
special
yes,
about
yes.
that?
Sorry. 31st and the 1st are good days you want to be on the phone. Yep, absolutely.
And why is that?
That's when usually listings expire.
And so what's significant about the 31st? Because I think everybody understands the first of the month, big expired day. What's significant about the 31st?
Most agents don't know there's 31 days in that month.
So what happens?
So it expires on the 30th. Like,
Do you
for
guys hear
example,
that?
like July 30th. Some agents think there's only 30 days in July. So July 31st, I want to be on the phone.
Yeah, we call the 31st of the month Stupid Realtor Day.
Yeah.
They were too stupid to know there were 31 days, so they had it expire on the 30th. And about 20%, would you agree, Michael, of the properties expire on the 30th?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So after you take a listing, it was priced at 800 and it didn't sell, and you got it for 750. What are some of the things you're doing now that you got a new price to get that property sold as fast as possible to move to the next one? What are you doing?
I mean, if I can, I'd like to try to double end it, see who I might have a buyer for.
Stop right there. I was hoping he'd say this. You guys understand that when you double end it, you get two commissions. And when you work with yourself, it's generally an easier transaction, isn't it, guys? Because here's the deal. When I text me a question, I know what I'm doing, so I have to text me back because I can't lie. When I email me a question, I know what I'm doing, so I have to email right back. So we'd make two commissions, and it's an easier transaction. Michael, do you believe when you double end the property, it's in the best interest of your seller?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
Makes the process nice and simple.
Do you guys hear that? Makes the process simple. So we owe it to our seller to try to double end it. So what are a couple ways that you try to double end an expired?
I mean, I'll post it on like social media. I'll look at my database, see if anybody maybe living in the area, prospect around it.
You guys hear that? One of the other things you can do is when you list an expired, make sure you put your sign in the yard, mark your territory, and put up the rider new price so that the neighbors know there's a new sheriff in town and it's at a new price. Michael, do you grab the cards that showed the property prior to you taking over the listing?
Yeah.
After you go through your double end and it doesn't work, what do you do with all those agents who showed the property now that you have it listed?
I don't always do that. I should, but I have in the past. Will let them know that it's back on at a new price.
And if you're smart, Michael, and you are, you would pick somebody like Richard Berman who knows what the hell he's doing and call Richard to say, Richard, you were kind enough to show the property on McClellan Street at 800. It's now at 750 with me. Since you know what you're doing and transaction with Richard are easy, I'm going to call the agents who I like who can make the deal work fast first. Because in every market, there are people who know what they're doing, and we know who they are, right, Michael?
Oh, yeah.
And since you've worked with somebody in the past, I'm calling them first as a favor to them. And it's better for the seller, isn't it?
Yep.
Guys, I can't stress this enough. When you take an expired listing and the other agent had a little cute basket of cards, I'm scooping those things up after I get the signature. After we try to double end it, we got a quick sale. Hi, Steve Powers, Michael Kent. You showed we have it. Wanted to call you first. It's now this price. I'm going to call my buyer right away. We can sell the house in a day, can't we, Michael?
Yep.
Man, the seller loves you for that. So, Michael, let's shift to customer service because it's something that you and I are working on and all the time. What makes your customer service better than all the other realtors in your market?
I think promptness, how quickly we respond to any question. If that one thing that I've really gotten better over the last year is just hiring some talent as far as like admin. So if somebody calls, they get a live answer during business time, and if it repair requests, presenting offers, like I've really been trying to focus on delegating that to my assistant.
You guys hear that? Promptness. So, going back to the expired, canceled, withdrawn, the biggest complaint of expired, withdrawn sellers is what, Michael?
Lack of communication.
Did you guys hear that? I said, what makes your customer better? And his first response was over communicate. When you take an expired and you don't over communicate in the first week, Michael, would it be fair to say that they think they got the same agent they had before?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's huge. That first week is big.
So, what do you mean by over communicate? What do you do so that all of a sudden they go, wow, this is so much better than what we had before? What do you do?
Just within the first week, I want to call them 3 times, usually with something that I can show that we've done. And I think the biggest thing, and you probably already know, I mean, this stuff you probably tell everybody, or everybody might already know, is that it also really helps with price reductions.
What do you mean?
If they don't think you're doing anything, your chances of getting a price reduction go down.
Yep. So, Michael, the first week you call the husband, wife, and we do it in reverse order wife, husband, husband, wife. Would it be fair to say that generally, if you reduce a property, it's 800 and you get it at 750, it's going to sell pretty quick? Fair statement?
Yep. Yep.
If you don't over communicate in the first week and you list it on a Monday and you don't talk to them till Thursday and you have an offer on Thursday, we both know that they're grateful for the offer, but they wonder if you've done anything, huh?
Yep.
So how likely are they to take that offer if it's not perfect?
Not likely.
Ever have a seller question why they have to pay you a full commission when you haven't done anything yet and you sold it so quick?
Yep.
We have a gentleman that we coach. He sent me a wonderful email, and I'm not going to share his name or the email, but it was basically, congratulations on selling my son's house quickly. They're happy with the offer. They're happy it's so quick. Although I do wonder why they have to pay you a full commission since you didn't do anything. You didn't have to take pictures. You didn't have to market. You didn't even give them a full CMA. And the first time you called them was with the contract. So I'm wondering, are you going to reduce the commission since we haven't heard from you in 4 days? Because the seller's just looking for a reduction, right, Michael?
Yep.
So the rule of thumb is when you take an expired, you better call them the next day. Let them over communicate because it's going to get a lot of activity and we need to show the seller that you're the reason there's so much activity, not the price. So Michael, let's talk about the transaction. During the transaction, it goes under contract. What are you doing during the transaction so the customer gives you a much deserved 5-star review, refers people in the future, and uses you again? What seeds are you planting so that they're a long-term client with you?
I still continue to do my weekly update call. And a lot of times, like when it's good news, I make sure that I call them, not my assistant.
Oh, time out, time out, time out, time out. Let's be clear. It goes under contract and you still call them once a week even though it's under contract?
Yeah.
Why do you call them? Because most agents don't. It's under contract. I'll see you at the closing. You love me. What do you talk about when it's under contract?
Just whatever's going on with the file, and sometimes it's nothing. Right now we're through the appraisal, the inspection. Now we're just kind of on a waiting game. But what do you guys need from me? What questions do you have for me?
Do they have a lot of questions during the pending process?
Yeah.
One of the things that Michael understands, guys, and this is why I was so excited when he said he would join and share some of the things he does. He understands that he's going to sell 125 homes a year. The people that he sells a home to, they're going to sell one, two, or three homes in their life. So I hope you guys listened that Michael calls during the pending, listens, lets them ask questions. And sometimes the questions, are they stupid, Michael?
Yeah.
I remember
But
with,
that's not what I tell them. I tell
no,
them that's a really great question, right?
yeah, why? I wish everybody asked that question. I remember we had our first child, and my wife is a bit analytical, and she said to the doc, she goes, Doc, they have a new laser, and you can point it at their forehead and get their temperature. Do you think I should use this? And the doc is like, this is the stupidest question in the world. But he said to her, that's such a wonderful question. There are really three ways to take a baby's temperature. There's the laser to the forehead, make sure you don't hit in the eye. And there's oral and there's rectal. And the doc looks at me and goes, Mr. Powers, you know the difference between an oral and a rectal thermometer? And I said, no. He goes, it's how they taste. And that was his joke. He's had that question probably 1,000 times in his life, but he acted like it was a great question. And that's the key. Did you guys hear? They're going to ask questions that sometimes are stupid to us, but they mean a lot to them. And if you're like Michael, you listen and act like it's a great question. Are we setting them up, Michael, to be a great past client?
Yeah.
And you finish the call asking for a what?
Referral.
You guys hear that? He calls the buyers and sellers during the pendings and finishes it up asking for a what, Michael?
Referral.
Interesting. So the property closes. Do you have any after closing care that you do?
Yeah. I mean, just call in a couple days and make sure they got their money, stuff like that on a seller.
So you don't close on it and say, see you in 7 years when you're ready to sell again.
No.
You lower them down. You call them once a week to the closing, then you call them a few times after the closing to make sure they got their money, etc. You guys see how Michael sets himself up for long-term happy customers? Without a show of hands, without you acknowledging it, are there some of us that the day it closes, we never call them again till we think they're ready to sell and we wonder why they don't call us? Michael, you said something that I heard and I didn't talk about. You said, I want to call them during the transaction, especially when there's good news. I want to call them, not my assistant. Could you
Right.
expand on that a little bit? Because I think that's a key thing.
That's a great time, best time to ask for a referral.
What do you mean?
Well, they're excited. They're happy. They're accomplished, especially if they tried for months before with another agent. They see the deal progressing and then they're getting the service that they would expect. And you just ask who else could use that level of service.
So share with us, what are one or two happy moments during a pending that you go, I need to call on this? No, to my assistant, no, 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 no. I don't want you to call and tell him that. I want to call and give that good news. What are one or two things during a transaction that are happy moments?
Yeah. A lot of times I know this doesn't happen a lot, but if there's like an inspection and they haven't asked for any repairs, something like that, or an appraisal, or when the loan's finally approved.
So could you role play with me? I'm a
Sure.
seller and the buyer's loan's approved. Is that good news for me as the seller?
That's good news.
So this would be a Michael call, not an assistant call, yes?
Yep.
You mind letting us all hear this wonderful call?
Sure. Ring, ring.
Hello?
Steve, Michael Kent, your realtor.
Oh, Michael, how's it going?
Great. Could you use some good news?
Dude, incredible. Go. Give me some good news.
We're a week before closing and the buyer's loan's been totally approved. Their money's ready to go.
So we're done.
Basically, we just need you to go in and sign the title company, and you'll get your money on this on the 17th. You're ready to go. The line, there's no issues. We're ready to close. It's as good as done.
Oh my God, hold on, honey. Oh my God, Michael, we're gonna make a baby. We're gonna make a baby. Name it Michael Kent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You know what you could do even better than that?
Whoa, not much better than making a baby, but I'll try. What is it?
Can you share with me someone else that you know now that could use that same level of service? Someone looking to buy or sell.
Do you guys see the excitement in this? We're role playing. Do you see how excited it is for me that my buyer has full loan approval? This is infectious, guys. This is contagious. This is why people give Michael referrals. Because some of you, hey, Steve, it's Michael Kent. What's up? Just want to let you know your buyer got loan approval. We're good. Oh, yeah. Anything else? No. See you at the closing. Who else do you know wants to be this excited? This is excellent news. Do our sellers sit on the edge of the seat wondering if they're going to have a closing, Corey? Every night they're wondering. And Michael calls with the final one. So if it overappraises, we're calling the buyer to tell them how great it is. If they got loan approval, if there's no inspection repairs or there's very little, this is a time for you guys to shine. And I'm going to send this out to everybody. You all have to watch how Michael was excited, even in this role play, because this makes me want to do another deal with him. God, that's amazing. Michael, I know your time is busy. I told we take for half an hour. However, I'm going to take a couple more minutes because this great crowd might have some questions. Could you field a couple questions if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. So don't be shy. Ask some questions.
Steve, I have a question here, and that was your question before we got disconnected. Okay, so Michael, you get an appointment at 8:30 for 9 o'clock. What happens to the CMA, the pre-call, the package? What do you do with that?
A lot, what I'll do, and I know, I mean, not everybody might have this good fortune of having a great assistant, but I'll have my assistant pull those comparables. She can email them to me. We can talk more about it then. But another just a little trick too is I'm asking them questions. You know, if they were getting a lot of people looking at the home, and and maybe ask some of those pre-qualifying questions when I get there, and just try to be pretty versatile. But I'm definitely bringing a listing agreement with me, and I'm going to get that signed. But as far as like comparables and that those kind of items, like my assistant might send them to me. But I also know, just 20 years in the business, if they're getting showings, no offers, they're probably 5 to 7% too high. And then I'll ask them questions again. Hey, you had qualified buyers looking into coming into the house. Like, Mr. Seller, I agree. Your home's probably worth 700,000. Let me ask you a couple questions. Did the buyers know it was listed for 700 and they came and looked and they left? Why didn't they make you an offer? So I think it's worth 700. You probably do too, but at the end of the day, the guy with the checkbook wasn't making you an offer at 700. Just asking questions and being somewhat versatile. I don't know if that answered your question.
Thank you.
Yep.
The other thing, Gonzalo, because some of us are analytical, we couldn't possibly imagine going out an hour. So we set it for 4 hours so we have the time. And then we get a text at 12 o'clock. Hi, Gonzalo, Steve Powers, you had an appointment at 1. I've taken the listing. Here's the price. You don't need to come. It's better to go out as fast as possible and wing it than delay on an expired 2 or 3 hours so you're prepared. Great question, Gonzalo. Who else has a question? Got it all figured out?
I'll jump in. I know I asked you one earlier, Steve, but Kent, how's it going, man?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. What are a few tips on over communicating? You mentioned over communicating a few times, whether it's once you take the listing, during the transaction. What are a few tips you use? Because a mental block for me sometimes, I'm like, well, there's no real reason for me to call them right
I think the biggest tip is just do it that first week.
now. Okay.
Like for example, I'll give you an example. Like I used to have my assistant would call and let them know when the pictures were scheduled. I can do that because that's a check. After the sign's up, I can call them the next day. Something they saw. Hey, the sign should have been delivered. Is it up? I think once you get going, for me, I mean, obviously you can over communicate again. Look for those reasons to call when there's good news, but I think the biggest tip I can give is you just want to make sure that first week, again, because they probably just came from an agent that they were just with for 3 months that they may have only heard from once a month at most, you know?
Yeah.
So you want to show them right away how you're
makes a ton of
different.
sense. Okay. Thank you for that tip. Really like it.
And again, to jump in here, most expireds, when you take a decent price reduction, they're going to be sold in 7 to 10 days. And if you don't over communicate, they don't see a cause and effect between your work and the showings. So they don't necessarily want to pay a full commission, or they don't want to take a lower price because they didn't see you do any work. They equate you talking to them as work. All right, I'm going to take one more question because Michael, we're kind of taking more time than you were gracious enough. Any other questions? Well, let me ask you, Michael. Well, how important is for you to sprint rest? Sprint rest. How important is for you to take time off 3 or 4 days now and then in a row? What does that do to your business?
I just feel like right before I'm going out of town, I am so focused.
So, how often do you take vacations?
I'd probably say maybe once a quarter.
Do you guys hear that? Because if you're just jogging, you're not covering a lot of ground. But if you sprint rest, you cover a lot of ground. So, Michael, you're going to take a few days off here in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
We talked about that. You deserve it. So, because you're leaving, you can do more work. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
How many days do you need to regroup without doing any real estate to feel like, whew, I rested. Let me come back and attack. What do you need?
Probably like 3.
3. Yeah, that's good. You guys hear that? Well, this is a sprint rest business. What you don't want to do is work 6 months and then take 2 weeks off. What you want to do is work 6 weeks, take 3 days off. Work 4 weeks, take 3 days off. Sprint rest, because you all know that you do a ton of business the week or two prior to going away. So go away and turn off your stuff. Michael, anything else you want to leave this fine group? Because
I was going to
so
share
gracious.
one thing. I was going to share one thing with everyone, and I don't know if maybe it's just luck, but my last 2 listings that I took, they were canceled. Both of them already had another agent's agreement in their email to sign, said they had already gotten an agent. They just hadn't executed the contract.
And
both
somebody
of
swooped in.
those within an hour, I was at their house, and they ended up signing with me.
You guys hear that? So Michael is proving this is still a phone call belly to belly business. Michael, we're 6 minutes over. I'm sorry I took 6 minutes of your valuable time because I know how much you make per hour because we calculate it, and I'm not going to reduce that from your fee, but I appreciate it. And on behalf of everyone on this call and everyone we're going to send it to, you've made a big difference in people's lives. You've contributed, and we appreciate you. And I think the biggest thing we got out of this was listening and enthusiasm gets you a long way, guys. Let's be a listener. Let's be like Michael Kent. Okay. Thanks, Superman. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Yep.
Thank
Bye.
you, Michael. Thank
Bye.
you, Steve.